Good morning from beautiful Toronto, Ontario. On this Saturday morning, I cannot think of a better way to start my weekend than by talking with you, Jocelyn, superfan
Oh,
and coordinator of so many other people's Degrassi dreams. Thank you for all the work that you do.
thank you for coming here, Judy. I was just telling you that I'm so excited for this because you handle so many behind the scenes things on Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, and I'm so excited to pick your brain about all those little things that I've wondered about for years. So I'm so happy that you're here.
Fantastic. Let's get started. Pick
Let's
my
get into
brain.
it.
What do you want to know?
Well, first, I want to set the scene for everybody who's listening because I know a lot of people wonder, like, how do you get connected to these people, Jocelyn? So we've met twice in my Degrassi fan history. We're first met at Degrassi Palooza, which I'll show off. I'll show you. I have my little Judy Shiner autograph proudly displayed on my wall, and maybe even creepier, I have your Degrassi Palooza headshot that's sat behind you when you did
Have
your
to say, full
interviews.
disclosure, I had a better hair and makeup team for those photos than I do on this Saturday morning. But
You look beautiful. It looks great.
I do want to connect. I do want to tell you about one thing in terms of the background. By the
Please.
time I got there, by the time they had their initial funding in place, there's something called a Bible. Do you know what that is?
Yes, the show Bible, but please explain it for the listeners in case they don't.
Okay, so they do a Bible for all shows, and it is the document that you go back to again and again. When you're developing a series, you come up with the storylines, you come up with the characters, and then you do backstories of those characters. It's just in your head at this point, and you're trying to find references. What does this person look like? Who are their parents? What would they wear? What do they pack for lunch? What are things they love and don't like? So you do that for every character. You try and put friend groups together. This is all on paper, of course, so we haven't seen how it manifests in real life.
Yeah.
You talk about, what are themes you want to exhibit? What's the physical space of the school? What do people's homes look like? What are ideas we want to explore? And you put this all down in a massive, comprehensive document. And then when you're trying to get funding, you have that Bible and you do different pitch documents to the various funding agencies. And you have this very dense uh, Bible, really, all there. And when you're having questions, as once a show is up and running, any show, you go back to the Bible and it's there, and then you add it. Things evolve and everything. But by the time I started on this series, that Bible was in place, so I could go and I could see what they thought was in Joey Jeremiah's locker, and it may or may not have been the same as what I thought. Then you bring it on its feet. And I do the same thing today in commercials where they come to me with sort of their idea, a lookbook, a mood board, and I'm responsible for taking what someone has put on paper and then trying to figure out how do we actualize this in real life. And it's a very exciting process. But I do want to say, before I join the show,
Yeah.
that Bible with Yan Moore did it, Kit, Linda, we may have had other creators, but those were the main three. Maybe Catherine was involved in that. So that was our
Wow.
Bible.
I gotta try to find that at the archives and go
It's
through it.
it's
That's
there
really
somewhere.
cool.
It's a huge document. Very
Oh,
exciting.
I can't wait to go through it. Well,
Yeah.
that transitions into my next question. I want to ask you about wardrobe specifically because you're responsible for building Joey's signature style, his Hawaiian t-shirts, his classic fedoras. So when it comes to a character like Joey and you're building his style, what are those things that you're looking for? How do you make those decisions before we even see the show get made?
So that would have been in the Bible. They were trying to think of what's a way a character could flip the bird to authority figures around him. And of course, when you wear a hat,
Mm.
that's the kind of thing that, sort of thumbs your nose to authority without being against the law. And fun fact, when I was in high school and Annie Hall was very big, I can't believe I'm admitting this, I actually wore a fedora to school and a tie and a vest because Annie Hall was very popular at that time. And I was called down to the principal's office, the vice principal's office, and he said, "You can't wear that." And I said, "Is it in your rules?" And he said, "Take it off. It's disrespectful." Anyway, so
Oh
it's very
my
funny that
God.
then I was responsible for putting a fedora on Joey Jeremiah. But that particular thing, the Hawaiian shirts, the fedora, that would have been in the Bible before I came to the
Wow.
show. And then things catch on. Like you're trying to develop a signature style, and it's real life, but it's slightly larger than life. So if people were just to see a still photograph of the gang,
Yeah.
Lucy and her crazy headburns, Sorry and eyes, I'm so sorry. Caitlin with her, when that blonde streak
Oh,
took off,
yes.
Spike with her hair, Joey with his fedora, the twins who didn't start off with a black and white wardrobe, but one day they wore something and we all thought, wow, this is their signature,
Wow.
twins, black, white. This is going to be a fun thing. And that was an example of something that was really over the top, in a way more over the top than what Joey Jeremiah wore.
Yeah.
But it took off. They wore it by chance one day. And as soon as they walked onto set, everyone knew this is a fantastic signature style. So that's what you look for, is something
Wow.
that, even without anyone opening their mouths, that exemplifies the personality of that character. And in Joey's scenario, he's a diminutive person.
Mhm.
So his clothes were so much larger than life. His attitude was so much larger than life. And Hawaiian shirts represent that. Having that hat, you see him from a mile off. And in many of the first episodes, of course, he carried that skateboard. He did it once, and then he
Yes.
just kept doing it again and again and again.
That is
So
incredible. Now,
yeah,
this is always what I love about interviewing people from the show, is because now when I watch it, I'm going to see it differently. So now I'm thinking about that early moment, where those moments where Mr. Radich takes that hat off of Joey's head, and you're right, because it's an act of defiance in school. I would have never thought about that. That's so
that's it.
interesting.
And I think that might have been Dan's personal touch. I would have to check the scripts to see if he was just looking for a way of, just giving a little twist when he walked in the room. It may have been in the script. We'll have to check it. But Dan really
Yeah.
made that a signature moment for himself.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you could paint a picture for us, because now wardrobe departments, you have these big buildings with racks full of clothes. They're all brand new. Can you tell us, what was the wardrobe department physically like back in the days of Degrassi Junior High?
It's so embarrassing, but I'm going to be honest. So I was handed a system. I didn't question it. I just did the system.
Hmm.
Do you know what a milk crate is?
Yes.
Okay. People used to store their record collections. So we had a giant, a giant construction of milk crates. So there were probably 40 milk crates stacked. I can't do my math here,
Wow.
but 42, what's for, like 6 high, 7 across, taped together. And every kid had their name on a milk crate.
Oh
I
my
am not kidding.
God.
This is just so embarrassing. There were no racks, nothing was hung up. At the beginning of the week, everyone brought their own clothes from home, because for
Mm.
actor rules, you are allowed to ask actors to bring their own clothes. So they brought
Mhm.
a certain amount of clothes. I coordinated them and I put them in the milk crates. And we broke it down according to the screen days. So, say an episode took place over 4 days of the week:
Mhm.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Monday would be called day one, Tuesday would be called day two. Thursday, even though it's the day 4 of the week, in screen terms, it would be called day four. Day three. Friday would be called day four. And when we wanted the kids to change, the AD would scream out, "Change into day three." And everyone would go on their handwritten list and say, "Are you in day three?" Because during the course of a day, a shooting day, your first scene might be day four, close. Your next scene might be
Mm.
day one. Then we're back to day three. Then we're doing exterior, you're back to day one. And that's how you shoot it. So you're changing throughout the day. You're not wearing the same clothes during the day. So
Yeah.
physically, what it looked like was a big, huge fit together. It wasn't messy, it was neat, but it was in these milk crates. There were no racks, there were handwritten lists. People had to look at their lists. And then as the show went on, when we started to come up with these signature looks, we realized, of course, Pat Mastroianni didn't own a single Hawaiian shirt. So then I started to provide all those clothes. The twins, they owned one black and white thing, but once that look took off, I provided all the clothes. Anais had a couple things of her own, so they started with
Yeah.
their own clothes, and then I ended up buying the clothes.
That's so interesting, because I know a lot of fans, the show feels so real. It is so real. They're wearing their own clothes. So a lot of fans are curious. We're always curious about, like, how does it work to have a wardrobe department when they wear their own clothes, but you basically had this cubby system of day one, day two, day three. That is so smart, and so, I think, reflective of junior high school, of how they really organize things in the school.
That's
So
right. And
that's so
it's
interesting.
coordination. Like, think of things, I can't think of the episodes off the top of my head, but where someone's clothes get damaged or where you're walking in the rain. So you can't have one shirt. You have to have 10 of those shirts. So
Right.
when they wear their own clothes, maybe they're wearing their own jeans, but I'm providing 10 of the shirts. Or there's all sorts of special effecty things where you just have to have multiples of something. Or when we started doing the zit remedy, all those kinds of shirts. We created those. And then, for Gourmet Scum, we printed a bunch of those. And then we thought, wouldn't it be fun to do what happens in real life, which is even if the Gourmet Scum doesn't make an appearance in that episode, of course, kids are going to wear those costumes. And we also thought, to make a textured background, you have to think of what kids are doing in their real life. So that's why if you look in the background of the scene, you'll see cheerleaders walking through the scene that have nothing to do with the storyline. You'll see someone who we know after school they're running to their ballet or their dance class. So even though they're not a character in the foreground, in the background, you'll see someone carrying roller skates, carrying their dance outfit, carrying gym stuff, because we wanted to give the texture of a real junior high. So we would think, what would people in the background be running off to that has nothing to do with the A-line story? Isn't that interesting?
That
if you look
so
closely, yeah. And you always think about that. Once you get all the foreground stuff done, you have to layer and texture the background.
There is one fan who submitted a question. His name is Shane, and he actually helped me do some research for this episode. He's from Australia. I'm sure you've probably been asked about this jumper, but in Degrassi Junior High, specifically, It's Late, which is the episode you appear in. We
I do know exactly how it got there.
He's going to be so excited.
I know. So first of all, have you heard the concept Easter egg? Do you know what an Easter egg is, right? So it's a little wink, wink, a shout out to the fan base. We've always had a huge fan base in Australia. So this was a little like wink, wink, shout out. I don't think we knew exactly that it was Food Spray, but we knew that it was like a niche Australian team.
Wow.
I think I was just tasked with finding a sporty kind of shirt to put on the Wheels character, and I'm like, here's a sporty kind of shirt. We had no idea it would take on the life that it has. This comes up at least once a year in Australian, I know, in the Australian media, and we do some interview about how the shirt ended up there. So I don't think we knew exactly what the small organization was, but we did know that it was a wink, wink, and it was kind of a random shirt that I found. I think I thrifted it, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
I thrifted, sorry kids, I did thrift a lot of that clothing, but with our little budget, we thrifted a lot. Here's a sporty thing. It ended up on Wheels. We found out the Australian connection, and then it became this fantastic acknowledgement for our Australian fan base. So a lot of those clothes were thrifted, and we're so glad to have the Australian fans. And it was it's so much fun when we get asked that question it's been on a number of radio and TV shows, that one shirt. Who knew it would live on? Is that incredible?
That's so funny that a wardrobe you thrifted so many years ago still continues on to have this life.
Thank you, Shane, for paying attention. I want